Right, hello wine drinking people. Time for more of what I've had to drink yesterday. This 1995 vintage Bordeaux tasting on the calendar for quite some time. I've been looking forward to this because 95, one of the most exciting vintages in the 90s. And, well, there wasn't much to talk about other than 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, relatively, well, they're good in quality, but not wines you would buy on futures. 95 was the first vintage critics had anything to wax poetic about. And then 96 came along, and to me, 96 is a superior vintage. But both vintages have their merits. I remember tasting them side by side when they were young and thinking, wow, these 95s very austere. The 96 had lovely, gorgeous fruit from day one. And would the 95s ever come around? You know, a lot of people compared them to 75 vintage, very tannic wines, but had high hopes for them in the future that they would shed their tannins, the fruit would come out. And some people have given up on 95. So this is why we do this valuable work here, folks. Very scientific what we're doing at the Wine Watch. And I can tell you, after tasting through these 895, 7 reds, and of course one of the greatest sweet wines on earth, Chateau Yquem, if you have these 95s in your cellar, they are just starting to drink at their peak. The fruit's coming back out in these wines, and they're really starting to show nicely. I think they've got, you know, a period where they're going to plateau here for another decade or two, and then they'll hang on there for another couple of years. Hey, Bordeaux lasts a very long time. Well, we had top-level wines on the table tonight. The Chateau Angelus, 1995. Congratulations to Hubert de Bouard, who has now become Premier Grand Cru Classé, just right up next to Cheval Blanc, Ozone, and the 2012 vintage. You'll see a nice gold package come out to commemorate this. And Saint-Emilion, the only region in Bordeaux we have the potential for this to happen. Well, of course, other than the Baron Philippe Rothschild, who in 73, Mouton got raised from a second growth to a first vintage. Well, this is a wine that the vineyard here is 39 hectares, so they make quite a bit of juice here at Angelus. And most of these properties in Saint-Emilion and on the left bank are rather large producers. It's vineyard is planted to 50% Merlot, 47 Cab Franc, and 3% Cabernet Sauvignon, showing more and more Cabernet Franc in the blend here as years go on. Well, this wine is just gorgeous. Let me tell you, a big and powerful bouquet here. Lots of black olives, truffles, blackberries, black cherry, notes of black pepper spice. Big and chewy on the tongue. This wine's got a lot of dark berry fruit, densely packed. Lovely earth and spice nuance from the nose coming through on the finish. Excellent structure and depth. This is a big boy here. This 95 Angelus still needs time, but has all the right pieces in place. Most excellent juice. And I got a couple votes for first place, second place. All the wines on the table got a vote for first or second. That means, you know, some great stuff. The Trotanoy Vineyards, first planted in 1761, owned by Christian Moex, his family. And this is one of the top properties in Pomerol. Pomerol, a small one-horse town, so it's only 7.6 hectares. And this vineyard is planted to 90% Merlot, 10% Cabernet Franc. The soil here is rich in clay and gravel, and some important deposits of iron in the soil also. And this is 95 vintage. Is a little monster, really deep, dark color, lots of plummy, jammy fruit here, densely packed with layers of black licorice spice, bittersweet chocolate, fresh earth, really rich on the tongue. Of the two, I like this right bank wine better. It just, to me, had a little more length, some really plush, velvety texture, that dark berry and plum fruit, really lovely thickness, multiple layers of fruit, earth, and that nuance from the nose through the finish, really long and layered. Another couple of decades for sure in your cellar. This wine is killer, one of my favorite wines of the night. And I didn't vote for it first or second because Yquem didn't have a vote at the end of the night. You got to give Yquem some props. It's got to get at least one vote. I voted for it in second place. The Chateau Lagrange I thought was corked, one of the top-level wines in Saint Julien, but this wine, that musty kind of aroma blew off as the night went on. It had this distinct kind of smoky character to the bouquet also, but really filled out nicely with some dark plum and some cassis berry fruit and that earth and coffee and dark spice through the finish. Excellent juice. And got a vote for first place also. We thought it was bad at first, and then someone said this is my favorite wine of the night. The 1995 Le Mission Haut-Brion. This is, in some vintages, now more expensive than Haut-Brion, and dates back to the 16th century, one of the oldest properties in Pessac. And, you know, this is one of the top level wines. It's 26 hectares, so they make quite a bit of Le Mission here also. And 46% Cabernet, 44% Merlot, 10 Cab Franc is the planting of the vineyards here, and a little more Merlot coming into the to place here as time goes on. A smoky barbecue kind of lace note on the finish to that dark cassis and currant berry fruit, some eucalyptus minty characters, also a little peppery spice there. This wine very complex, but silky smooth, somewhat lighter on the palate in terms of its weight, but had a lot of nuance. Definitely not light in terms of spice. That lovely gravelly minerally note you get from wines from Pessac, and also had a barbecue kind of character on the finish here. This wine got some votes for first and second. An outstanding wine. The white wine, only 3.5 hectares, so much rarer, only 5 to 10% of all the great terroirs planted to white in Bordeaux. All right, the 1995 Margaux, wow. Well, this was a showstopper and one of the top wines of the night. Several votes for first and second place. This wine's got 75% Cabernet, 20% Merlot, 3% Petit Verdot, 2% Cabernet Franc, so not much Malbec found in Bordeaux today, but this wine, really good concentration and depth here on the nose, some fresh earth, some gravel, some dried tobacco, leather, a bit of a game to that dark berry and cassis fruit on the nose. Still a bit tannic on the tongue. This is a big boy, but you're kind of well-rounded at this point, and a lot of fruit, wonderful balance and freshness through the finish here, a lot of that nuance from the nose, most excellent juice. The wine of the night, the 1995 Pichon Comtesse de Lalande, the next door neighbor to Chateau Latour, across the street, the other Pichon Baron, a famous property here, and now owned by the folks from Louis Roederer. And this wine, just killer juice, man. I'll tell you what, the Pichon, to me, always one of the top wines, especially when you look at the price compared to its competitors, i.e. the first gross of Bordeaux. This wine had a beautiful bouquet of coffee, chocolate, tobacco, and cedar to the dark cherry and currant berry fruit. Really big and complex, pencil lead, graphite, even more as this wine opens up, and quite large on the tongue. This wine still got some tannins, along with a solid core of fruit here through the finish. This wine is killer juice. If you've got the 95 Pichon, you probably want to keep it for another 10, 20 years. It'll last for your entire lifetime. The Mouton 95, a blockbuster also. This wine got several votes for first and second, and typical Mouton bouquet, that graphite, the truffles, the coffee, the cedar, the incense, the spice, really exotic, and red currant, black currant fruits, really beautiful bouquet here, big and chewy on the tongue. This wine has just got layers of fruit, cassis, dark cherries, and that earth, that spice, that nuance from the nose lasting through the finish. Even better on the second day. This wine's got a firm hand of acidity. It will last for a long time. The Yquem, like I said, I had to pick it. It's my second favorite wine because I love Chateau Yquem. 20 years old now. Has that lovely honey character to it. Lovely peaches, apricots, lovely fruit here, and a firm hand of acidity. This wine will last for another 100 years, but a fabulous Yquem, the 95. That's what we had to drink at our 95 Vintage Bordeaux tasting. I'm your host, Andrew Lamposoni, signing off for the Wine Watch, saying remember, always drink the good stuff first.